Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Grandmasters. Our first match here on Saturday is in the books. Now Gidan and Race went at it. Race took it 2-1 in a very fun series back and forth, except for maybe the very ending for Now Gidan. I wouldn't say he described it as fun, more like heartbreaking, as is most competition. But we're still going to go on. I mean, week to week, Now Gidan can pick it up in results, just like Race did. And I'm sure he's going to find his stride soon enough. In the meantime, match number 2, we have ETC versus Purple. We featured ETC's deck yesterday as a spotlight opportunity because he had Luna's Pocket Galaxy, which came into play for the middle of the series versus Warrior. But when he's going up against a rogue deck, a Warrior deck like Purple, does he want to keep that pack, or does he want to be a little bit more defensive? Because Purple has a fairly aggressive Warrior deck here.
Even though it's a fairly aggressive Warrior, I still think that it's kind of required if you want to win that matchup, just to have a little bit more greed, or else you run out of threats. It's not like Purple is cutting too much of his defensive package in order to make that happen. Like, he still has Warpaths, he still has Brawl. He doesn't have like a secondary or tertiary deck that defends against it, so maybe you can try and just rely on Mountain Giants to get the job done, but we'll have to see. But one thing that I do want to talk about is that ETC's play yesterday left a lot to be desired, especially if you're a lover of face damage. I felt like in the matchup against Warrior, he was over trading a little bit, had multiple options to set up 2-turn lethals throughout the course of some of his games, and didn't go for them, and ultimately led to his defeat. So
I don't disagree.
Maybe he goes back to kind of like the basics and says, I'm just going to stick on my primary deck and try and win that way. I have seen ETC practicing a lot. You know, if you watch a lot of streamers, a lot of the Grandmaster streamers float around the top legend ranks, 1 through 200. And so they often face off against each other. So if you watch a lot of streams of Grandmasters players, I've seen them play against ETC a lot, and he's been jamming this mage deck and having a lot of success with it. So I don't know what happened or why he kind of made the decisions he did, but I'd like to see him playing a little bit more aggressive today, putting the clock on the Warrior.
All right, well, we'll see if he's able to adapt to that from day to day. In the meantime, we're going to check out a little package here to describe what Purple and ETC think about each other.
Hi, my name is Ryan Murphy-Root. I go by Purple.
Hi, my name is Fei Liang, and my handle is ETC.
I really like waking up. The first 4 or 5 hours are like the best hours of the day. I like taking dogs for walks after my 8 hours of Hearthstone and my couple naps.
I am a special inspector of boating and welding, so my schedule is a little bit flexible. Most of the time I play Hearthstone after work. After I get back home, normally I play with my kids for an hour, and then the rest of the time I just play ladder.
Unique to me is like my ability to randomly deck people with just random decks that aren't supposed to function like that. I see shifts in patterns in the game where it is no longer possible to win the traditional way, and I just start moving towards plan B pretty quickly. And I don't really see any other players. They're not able to make that transition.
Getting in Grandmaster, it could make up the time I sacrificed. So that's really pretty cool. That means I could do the thing that I want to do, I like to do. Yes, do what I love, yeah.
My initial thoughts on the players on the division. Geez, well, we got some good players, we got some bad players, we got some medium players.
So all of the players in my division is very strong. So getting #1 in Grandmaster is gonna totally change my life. I think it proved myself, and my kids are gonna be proud of me.
Personal goals for the year. Just win? Yeah, just win.
All right, you heard from the players themselves. Just win! LOL. That's the secret to Purple's success. How do you win? Just do it. He's got a Warrior.
I don't know how to respond to that, Dan. It's just a fact. How do you win? You win.
Yeah, in the words of Zalay, but transposed and paraphrased and translate to 5 languages and back. Win so that you win.
Fair point.
Yeah.
And Purple, I don't know. This list is very different than what we've seen from traditional
The
Warriors.
pause makes me think that you don't approve of it, TJ.
It just didn't have a good track record yesterday. It did okay, but
By what metric? It went 0-4.
yes, but it did okay in the regards that the matchups that it was going up against were other Warriors that were slower and greedier.
Oh, okay.
So like it's still like kind of held its own. I think this is the matchup where it's going to be a little bit different because you have a secondary game plan outside of just trying to remove their threats, which is be aggressive. Snip Snap is a fantastic card and like much harder for you to deal with as a mage than it is as another warrior. So I don't think the 0-4 score did it justice of how the deck is constructed. I think today is going to be the real test to see if Purple can get over the mage.
Whew, that curve, though. Maybe not necessarily the Mega Devastator, but if Purple's sensing the ability to press in, you heard it from his mouth during the interview. If he senses an opportunity to not win the traditional way, he'll shift game plans very quickly.
I harkened back to the, what was it, Fall Championship of 2017?
The Summer Championship?
The Summer Championship of 2017, where Purple was playing against, I don't even remember. Oh, it was
Tom.
Tom. It was Tom. And Purple was playing, see, I don't remember any of the details, but I remember.
Druid?
No, it wasn't Druid. He was playing Shaman, I think. And everybody was saying, even the casters were saying, oh, he's dead.
Yes.
He's 100% dead. He's out of resources.
Playing
He's not doing
even
anything.
Shaman.
Yeah, he didn't play cards. He just didn't play cards and realized early on that his win condition was fatigue and won in fatigue against Tom's like value mage back then, the Gunther mage or whatever it was. Like that's what Purple means when he says he recognizes plan B and starts plan B very early. Even if he was playing an aggressive deck against a value deck, he saw like on turn 10 that he could win in fatigue and just played for that out. And it was incredible to watch. And that is a lot of times when players, you ask them, what sets you apart? What's your strength? And they'll always say something that's kind of cliche, like, oh, I work harder than everybody else. Oh, I play more aggressive than everybody else.
I'm luckier than you.
I'm luckier than everybody else. But when you actually...
Better looking than everyone else.
When you ask Purple, and he was able to self-evaluate, and he talked to me about, like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not the greatest mechanical player. Maybe I'm not the greatest deck builder. Definitely not the luckiest player. But when it comes to like finding yourself in bizarre situations, I will take the 1% win condition and go all in on it when I realize that my initial win condition is gone. And I've seen Purple do it so many times, and I do agree with his sentiment that he is just better than everybody else at doing that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what gets him most excited about it. It's the unconventional victory that other people don't spot. It's like a badge of honor. It's like, yeah, I figured out how to win this unwinnable position.
Yep.
Speaking of what seems like an unwinnable position, ETC has to stop this early game, and he does not have the tools to do it. He has Greed Hand. He has a hand that ramps up in power and hits its power spikes in a few turns from now. Not necessarily able to even come back on the board. He can stall for it with the Ray of Frost. Without Sorcerer's Apprentice, without Elemental Evocation, without Mountain Giant. I mean, heck, at this point, I'm not picky. I think he just wants like a Zilliax at this stage. He doesn't really have the momentum. And Purple has the ability to not only curve, but he can end the game with a Grom Hellscream. If it even needs to get to that point, he might just win through a Snip Snap.
Still feel the same way about Snip Snap that you did yesterday, Dan?
Oh, yeah. I actually feel even stronger about it.
I don't even think that's possible.
I feel Snip Snap.
Time runs out on me.
Snip Snap is just the best card that's ever been released in Hearthstone, TJ.
That is a very strong opinion.
Well, I like this curve play here for the Mega Devastator. Snip Snap is just really good. You know, all memes and jokes aside, Purple having it in his hand is very fearsome. And ETC with a full hand that stares at his opponent. He can Ray of Frost and go for the stall game, but
Banana Buffoon and throw a banana. I mean, he can't even afford to leave his hand full to maybe negate bombs, because one, he has too many cards left in his deck for that to be likely, and two, he needs a card that does something. Celiax is insane! He can Celiax this turn and then double Snip Snap next turn. He even has Grom in his hand as a finisher.
Yes.
And all face.
Snap. Does he want to actually trade in here?
It gives him Dynamatic out, or Dynamatic options next turn.
And it also restricts Sea Giant.
Yep.
But he misses 3 damage.
He's just so far ahead on board, and ETC has shown that his plays are weak. So Sorcerer's Apprentice drawn, so ETC can go off with Mana Cyclone here.
Okay. Also, can Conjurer's Calling the Eternium Rover to shut down its buff.
Ah, yeah.
I like that possibility. Uh-oh, Flame Imp comes out. The power stayed the same!
Nails the Ray of Frost, though.
Yeah, and gets a cheap Pocket Galaxy. Oh, hold on. Should you be freezing the Flame Imp or should you be freezing the Clockwork Goblin?
I think freezing the Clockwork Goblin, or freezing the Flame Imp's better, because it doesn't allow purple to trade in to make a better Dynamatic.
That's fair. Yes, you are correct. Dynamatic was not what I was considering. I think I was tunneling a little bit on the Metal Crab here.
Yeah, but Dynamatic's a 2 of, and magnetic cards in his deck is a 1 of with just Snip Snap remaining after Ziliac's been used, so I think it's just correct to freeze Flame Imp. Also, like, even just on board, like, without considering what could be in the hand, usually freezing the minion with lower health is better if you have a board, because then your opponent has to trade in more of their minion health on board to make room for it. Still finds a way to get Dynamatic use anyway, and still finds a way to stick the board.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Sticking the board indeed. Mountain Giant Conjurer's Calling. And now ETC actually has to weigh if he wants to use the Conjurer's Calling on the far left or the one that he's already revealed to his opponent.
I think you use the one on the far left. I think you need the hand size.
Yeah.
In case you draw another Mountain Giant. And at this point, you're in so much trouble that I don't think you really care if your opponent knows you have a second one. Maybe it does change his decision in some ways, though. Like, if Purple knew he had a second one, then he'd be more inclined to trade more off this board. But honestly, at this point, I don't think Purple's game plan is changing regardless of what you do. I think he's going to push damage to face and then transition to a defensive game plan.
Yep, I like the spread of it too, to make sure that Ray of Frost doesn't punish him. He did not position against Cone of Cold. But the bomb might not make it matter anyways. If ETC drops the bomb, he's dead! Sea Giants. Oh man, unexpected results. Sea Giants become 2 mana. Oh, it's not cheap enough for Cone of Cold. Dude, Purple might be dead next turn.
This is a 2-turn lethal setup.
Dude, and then Purple just has the bomb out. There are 2 bombs in the deck.
Oh, but if he doesn't kill this town card and doesn't get a Grave for, okay, he got the Grave for.
Then the Grom would end it, yeah.
Then the Grom would have ended it.
That's why he went for that instead of the Sea Giant.
Ooh.
Oh, a Brawl! A Brawl plus a Clockwork Goblin! Plus the Snip Snap minions.
Gonna increase his chance to win the Brawl.
Yes.
3 bombs now in ETC's deck. ETC not happy about that one.
Yeah, that was his counter push. Mech survives. It was likelier that ETC would lose that Brawl. Still doesn't hurt any less. He has the Khadgar plus unexpected results opportunity here to fill up his board.
Ooh.
He might get taunts. Actually, I think he might be able to play a free Sea
What
Giant
to
too.
do? What to
He
do?
would put 5 minions on board and spend 5 mana doing so. Then yes, he could play both Sea Giants. They'd cost 2. The first one would cost 2. The second one costs 1.
We must band together, united for Dalaran.
Angler. River for Crocolisk. I think he's just gonna go. Oh yeah, I guess it makes sense. There's no taunt minions at 10 mana, right?
A clever
And that's it. ETC is dead. Purple takes game number 1. Playing the mid-range warrior.
Yeah, and this is one of the matchups where I think is made so much better by playing it more aggressively. As you can see, just playing up the curve, shuffling more bombs to the deck because he has Sephorian Bomber,
Right.
and the Snip Snap just coming in super clutch there. He got 4 extra damage on a turn, getting that breakpoint down to 5, so even if he didn't draw Brawl, he still had an out because he was able to push so much damage.
Yeah, the bomb just puts implied pressure onto ETC. He doesn't have to react immediately to the bomb. It's just something in the back of his mind. The more he draws cards, the more he picks up like Arcane Intellect and Luna. It's just like difficult to evaluate that. And Purple also didn't exactly like even need the bombs to go off. It was just the normal curve of having the Eternium Rover into the Elic and the Clockwork Goblin and Snip Snap, TJ. Snip Snap was very clutch there because even if the worst case scenario happened where ETC stuck a minion, Purple still had a contingency plan to help get past all that minions, and then the bombs as a Hail Mary.
Yep.
That being said, ETC had some fiery draws in the middle of the game where it was Mountain Giant into Conjurer's Calling and then getting the Sorcerer's Apprentice with all these big mana cycling opportunities. So I would say that even though ETC lost, it was still quite a closely contested game.
He set up a 2-turn lethal. The Brawl is the only thing that really interrupted that. You know, he would have won the game if he hadn't drawn a bomb on the next turn. So, very close. And both players are sticking on their primary lists.
Yeah.
I sort of suspected the Luna's Pocket Galaxy, Karen Astromancer, great against some of the slower warriors.
It's too
but
fast.
this one's a little too fast.
Yeah, too fast, too furious, TJ. And more importantly, ETC's main deck list is already good versus warrior. He has 2 forms of weapon removal through the Acidic Swampus and the Harrison Jones.
Yep.
Instead, chose to say cut a Scion Binder and only play 1 Frost Nova. Like that's already for him making a nod to what warrior matchups he might run into. Also with Rogue too. So he's acknowledged that these weapon-based classes are important. Also, we just witnessed Purple throw away Dr. Boom Mad Genius instantaneously and said, you know what, I don't care about it. As you can see, the previous game, it was already decided by the time turn 7 or 8 rolled around. It was in this situation where Purple's like, I don't need this hero card.
I'm pretty sure we even talked to him about this in the interview, and he said the highest win rate cards for Bomb Warrior are Blastmaster Boom and Wrench Caliber. That's what he said. He said those are the 2 cards that he wins with the most often. And he has both of those in his opening hand, so we'll see if that rings true.
1 drop on 1. Purple's the 1-drop master.
They've been calling him that for minutes.
Yeah, there's a common inside joke. And by common, I mean Admirable said it 5 times until everyone started saying it because he kept saying it. Is that when Muzzy would playtest, apparently during playtest, Muzzy is literally untouchable. Like whenever he plays Miracle Rogue, he always just draws like the ideal combination, and whenever he plays like an aggro deck, he gets like the 1-drop on 1. So it became a point of frustration where it was like, I feel like I'm not getting good practice because you keep drawing the optimal hands every game and I don't get the average expected result. And then Admirable one time said that he started giving nicknames out because that's what Admirable does. So Muzzy inherited the nickname 1-drop Muzz. And Admirable tries to make everything with a southern twang. So they've been calling that for years. And that's how the story of the 1-drop Muzz came about.
And now that we actually have been calling him that for years because that's Admirable, the statement rings true.
Yeah. Like most things with Admirable, self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yep.
All right, well, Mountain Giant on 4.
But Purple has to check to it with Dynamatic. Dynamatic plus either Wrench Caliber Swing or the Eternium Rover, and it looks like Wrench Caliber Swing is going to be.
Yeah, Dynamatic shutting this down. Purple very okay with taking that damage if he can keep the Conjurer's Calling in check. ETC just getting pressure. Double Sea Giant.
At all his giants.
everything. I mean, we joked about Noah's Ark. This game is actually everything 2x2. He has the 2 Mana Cyclones, the 2 Mountain Giants, the 2 Sea Giants, the 2 Buffoons, and Khadgar to make 2 of everything else. Purple has another tempo opportunity to just play the Omega Devastator to ignore this Giant, but if he ignores this Giant, he's willingly accepting the Conjurer's Calling, and his opponent's on 6 mana next turn, so 2 Conjurer's Calling would make him pivot into a Brawl.
He does have the Brawl, though.
Yep.
So he has the luxury of being able to act like it's not there until it's there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I think shield block's too slow in this instance. He couldn't even shield block Armor Up Shield Slam, or else he'd have to trade one of his minions, which he does not want to do.
14 life. UTC is dead to 3 bombs now. Granted, I mean, no bombs have really been shuffled outside the Wrench Caliber, so these are only 2 out of 20. Still, though, something to note.
Honestly, looks like a. I was gonna say Sea Giant, but
Ziliax. Not a bad option. I think ECC was hoping for Ray of Frost or Sorcerer's Apprentice or something. He has the ability to go for this Mana Cyclone right here. He needs to just stop taking damage. Also, I think he was looking for Conjurer's Calling, of course. He still has a chance of getting it right here. Frost Nova, Conjurer's Calling.
One's out on me.
Splitting Image is interesting, but now that he's played the Mana Cyclone, it's a lot worse.
Mirror Entity is also interesting because kind of makes the Blastmaster Boom turn a little bit tougher. I don't think Purple's even going to acknowledge this Mountain Giant. I think his play here is just Blastmaster Boom and push face, test.
He test for Brawl next turn.
Yeah, and test for Vaporize with the minion that isn't going to fill up his board with 2/2s.
Yep. The lack of symmetry on this board is infuriating. In fact, Gallon, I was playing with Gallon, and he was lecturing me about how Purple always lectures him about board symmetry. Right? You were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
What to
And he
do?
specifically cited how Purple gets really mad if there's no board symmetry, and yet I see this. Is Gallon a liar?
I think he is.
No, he's not, of course. Gallon,
Very
Gallon Winhart. He's a very pure-hearted soul.
very
I
honorable
wonder.
individual.
Yeah. Very, very good contrast to on that desk, you know.
Yeah.
We have free Giants available here. ETC going for the one possibility of a high impact spell.
One's out on me.
I think Frost Nova or Conjurer's Calling would have been great.
Purple may win the game right here, though. He's got Shield Block to test for Counterspell and then can Brawl. And the average damage of the Boombox is 2.5.
Right.
Which means that on average, unless UTC wins the Brawl with something big and it absorbs all of the minions, or absorbs all the Boombot damage. So probably start off with a Shield Block here to test for Counterspell.
Well, it can also just push potential game-ending damage as well.
That's true, yeah.
So trade in here.
Trade in here, Wrench Caliber as well. So that's 7. He can make some Boombot trades.
Sees the Splitting Image. And that's where the Brawl comes in.
Yes.
Yep, push 3 damage to the face.
Because if it was Counterspell, then Purple would have just had lethal on board. Because he would have traded the 2 damage over the Mirror Image, then he would have had 5 damage on board and then 3 from the Wrench Caliber.
Right. Or just damage from the Grom.
Yeah.
Alright, another Bob shuffled in. Another Goblin in the mix. Who wins in this Battle Royale, TJ?
Very likely, even if ETC wins, Purple still wins. And that's nearly guaranteed unless all of these hit for 1.
That is it. Quick 2-0. Purple evens up his game-loss record, his win-loss record at 4 games apiece.
Yeah, and you can see the idea behind the Warrior now. I don't think yesterday was a good indication of where the deck stands.
Right.
It just so happened that both the players that brought this style of Warrior that was more aggressive lost to other Bomb Warriors that were slightly greedier and had the option to play defensive because they had Archivist Elysiana. And they went 0-4 yesterday, but now we're seeing it start off at 2-0 today, which I think this is kind of the matchup, plus pretty much every other matchup in the game, where it's more helpful than it is hurtful. And Snip Snap, great card.
Fantastic card. Some of
The best card ever printed.
Your words, not mine.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Purple, who is on the line. Purple, you there?
Hi, Dan. Hi, DJ. Yep.
What's up, Purple? So you're back here. Question, is Snip Snap the best card ever printed in Hearthstone?
Second best.
Ooh, what's the best?
Blastmaster Boom.
Okay. That's
They go
kinda
hand in
hard,
hand.
Hard to contest that based off of what we just witnessed.
Yep.
So this one seemed to have gone a lot smoother in terms of gameplay than yesterday. Is this kind of what you were more anticipating, like maybe some more mages and being able to curve out and beat them? Or is this the plan that you needed to do in order to beat a deck like Mage?
Honestly, at week 1, you guys, I was playing against Monsanto and you had Dragon Mage. It's a bit different than the Cyclone Mage, but same stuff, you know, Giants Conjuring. And you guys accused me of queuing the wrong deck in game 2. And, you know, the matchup, you can go 2 ways before. Either you can try to answer threats with answers, or you can just try to murder them. And I think both plans are very viable. And going back to week 1, I did not queue the wrong deck. I think this is a very viable plan for the matchup. Why, like, you see me not keep Dr. Boom Mad Genius in my opening hand, a card I keep in almost no matchup in the game, because like you can just curve out and attack them. Snip Snap, like, he blew him out and snowballed so much damage that game. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having seen the evolution of Warrior, I do acknowledge that. Back then, though, it was like you had like the double big game hunter type scenario. We're like, oh, isn't that the deck that you want to play? And then you
Also, you switched Purple.
to it in game number 3, so it looked like you were also figuring it out.
It was for the mind games, dude. I wanted Monsanto to keep a 5-4 rush in his opening hand in game 3. And that's why I queued that game 2.
To be fair, I think my exact words were either he queued the wrong deck or he's doing purple things.
Mind games. Purple things.
Mind games. Mind games.
Generally doing purple things.
Actually, I think 100% of the things you do are purple things because
that's just
you're
a
purple.
fact. Yeah. Purple,
You're really smart.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So are you.
All right. Well, I am going to look from the outside in on this bromance while I ask the next question. Purple, you mentioned you don't keep Dr. Boom in almost any matchup. What matchups do you keep Dr. Boom Mad Genius in?
Mid-range hunter.
Okay. And what makes it specifically about that matchup compared to some other decks that might try to pressure Warrior?
Well, they're a deck they're actually like the only deck that's just a pile of removal in the entire game. So there's really not much of a point in trying to curve out against them. They kill command, they deadly shot, they mark shot your stuff, they play lynxes to remove your stuff. So that's like the only matchup where you're playing against a pile of removal. So playing your dudes isn't that good. So Dr. Boom's like good in that matchup. But in the rest of the matchups, if you look at Mage, they don't have a card in their deck that actually kills anything. They can randomly create it, but your minions are so good because they just can't kill your dudes. It's on for most of the matchups, like Rogue's cutting Sap and Eviscerate in like the Pheno list. Like, I'm gonna play my spider tanks in that matchup. He can't remove my stuff. Why are we keeping 7-drops? So there's just not really a lot of decks currently that actually have a lot of removal. So I prioritize my early drops and try to get my aggro beats on.
Yeah, I only bring that up because I kind of read out there some of the data was implying that keeping Dr. Boom is just actually like a good keep in almost all the Warrior matchups. So now it's funny that you're like going against that popular ideal that's been perpetuated because people kept saying how insane this card is, and some of the data was backing it up with mulligan win percentages. Just real quick, last question. We don't want to get too deep.
Here's my
Why do you think
experience
that is?
from it. Before you jump to that, did you see how much damage my 1-drop did that game?
A lot.
Let's mulligan for 1-drops, team. Like, keep it simple.
Now, granted, it did turn into some kind of weird amalgamation of a 1-drop.
I mean, Snip
That
Snap
that
is the
then
best
got
card in
Conjurer's
Magic.
Calling and turned into 2 more 1-drops. So it was like a
I think he was referring to Snip Snap one in that game too. But actually,
Yeah,
the,
it got-
the Ziliax one was also.
it was also yeah. 1-drops are just good, man.
One drop mech minions are pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways, Purple, we're just rambling at this point. Thanks for joining on this episode of Talkstone.
Excellent.
Yeah. Are you streaming later today again?
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, when this broadcast is over, I'm gonna watch the rest of the matches. Watch you and TJ say stuff for a while. Lay on the couch for a while. Maybe take a nap in between there, and stream back on as soon as this broadcast is over, man.
Yeah, we'll do our best to lull you to sleep as per usual.
All right. Good luck dodging the spirit of the frogs later on as well.
Thank you.
All right. Always a pleasure to talk to Purple. Very interesting insight that just goes against a lot of popular ideals. You never keep Boom except against mid-range Hunter, apparently.
Yeah.
Which
I think against Warrior Mirrors maybe
fascinating.
also too, but
I mean, a lot of people
even
think
there's an
that-
argument there as well because it's all about tempo. I don't know.
Exactly.
Maybe he's right.
Well, either way, that's the second match in the books, TJ, and we got another one coming. We have Frozen versus PNC. Well, we're going to see how Mage does in the gauntlet today because it's going up against a token mech druid. Didn't have success in some of the other regions. Will it today? We'll find out when we come back to the Hearthstone Grandmasters.